Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the OT for Life podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Putt, and for today's episode and the next few, I've got a really special treat. I'll be releasing an occupational therapy student series covering topics such as transitioning from the classroom to fieldwork, the Level 2 fieldwork experience, and what happens after fieldwork. I'll also be addressing topics for fieldwork educators and why I love being one, because you all know I absolutely love being a fieldwork educator. For today's episode, I have on Bianca Callier, Celia Parra, and Kathleen Kanegawa, 3 doctoral students from West Coast University. In the episode, they'll share some of their experiences in OT school, including how to maintain occupational balance between life and school, and how to be involved in leadership and advocacy as an OT student. They are also about to embark on their Level 2 Fieldworks, which is a really exciting and also a little bit nerve-wracking of a time for students. These girls are so passionate and dedicated to the profession of occupational therapy, and this episode will be sure to inspire any current OT students, future OT students, fieldwork educators, and OT practitioners. If you're interested in occupational therapy, this is the place for you. This show aims to explore our profession by sharing who we are and what we do. Because for us, occupational therapy is more than just a job. Hi, I'm Sarah. Welcome to OT for Life. I am so excited to have you guys on the show today. This is going to be awesome. And I'd love to start if you guys would just kind of talk about what a day in the life or a week in the life of your OT shoes looks like right now.
So I'm Kat. Right now, we just finished the didactics portion of our program, which basically means that's all the theory and classwork parts. I've been commuting every day to Los Angeles from Chino Hills, so that is a huge commute. So my morning usually starts with sitting in traffic listening to awesome podcasts like the one that you're listening to right now. So maybe you're doing the same thing. And then sitting in class all day, just practicing all the things that you would normally practice in an OT program, learning about all the fun things about OT, different parts of the lifespan, peds, older adults, and then just being tested on everything and having a lot of projects and doing it with your friends. So that's pretty much it. But now we're moving on to Fieldwork 2, so that will be really exciting.
And when does that start?
Next Monday, actually.
Awesome. So exciting. I love talking to students right before they start their Level 2s because it's this moment and like this week before you guys start, it's crazy because you are going to change so much from the moment that you guys are right now within 3 months. Like the growth is just going to be like exponential, and so it's really cool to like catch you guys right before you start.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we're very excited to start. We keep saying in class, we can't wait to see each other again, but it's going to be so different just because we're all going to be growing so much in our knowledge. So we're super excited.
Mm-hmm. And getting just exposed to different things, and I'm guessing you guys are all going to be in different populations.
Yes.
In different facilities and all of that. So you're going to be seeing so many different things and getting exposed to so many different things. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
We actually just had our pinning ceremony this past Thursday, and one of the gifts that we got from our professors was a journal, and so at least I'm hoping that I really do stick to journaling because everybody says exactly what you just said. There's going to be so much growth and so much learning involved in our Level 2 fieldwork, so we're excited to see what happens.
Yeah. Could you explain a little bit about the pinning ceremony, just in case other schools don't do that? Just so other people can kind of get a glimpse of what that looks like and what it all entails?
So the pinning ceremony signifies that we have completed all of our didactic classes. It's a transitional ceremony that signifies we're going out to our fieldworks.
That's very well explained.
Yes, it was.
So during the ceremony, all of our professors, they say nice things about our class, and we reflect back on our journey that we had from the beginning all the way to that point. And so it's a nice walk down memory lane. to see how far we've actually come and how much work actually went into it. A lot of us, when you first get into the program, you can't even imagine getting to that pinning day, and that pinning day gets there. It's like, wow, we really did accomplish a lot. So it's a nice way to celebrate that. And then we go one by one, and we each get a little pin, and it says West Coast University Occupational Therapy Doctorate. We are the inaugural doctorate program at West Coast University.
Yay! So cool. That's awesome.
It's really exciting.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I was just reflecting on what we were talking about from now to the end of Fieldwork, but go back 2 years?
Like a year and a half?
A year and a half.
And the same, like, how much have you grown since you started OT school to this point? And now it's just gonna off like a rocket. It's gonna be crazy with the amount of learning that happens once you guys go out on your level 2s.
So we just finished finals, and after that we had 2 weeks of kind of interactive work, like you were to have a client, and then you have an eval, you do the discharge plan, you do goals. And that was right after our finals, so the first week was adults, so we got a fake client, and they were really good actors. I mean, it looked like they literally just had a stroke or a heart attack. But it was really cool because you got to see the process throughout. So we were pretending we were treating them, so we're writing goals, we're writing SOAP notes on them, intervention plan, home program.
Yeah, so basically
The whole
what
thing.
you guys are going to be doing out in Fieldwork, and it's just kind of a very condensed, interactive. Is it collaborating? Like, are you doing
No.
No.
Okay, so it's you.
Yeah, so basically it's like your final performance, and you want to show your professors that you've learned everything and you can compile all of it, like everything they've taught you from the first term. So like we had 2 courses on evaluation and screening, and then an assessment course and all that good stuff. But then just to know that you can actually evaluate them and figure out what are their functional deficits that they're having, and then come up with your own intervention plan, goals, treatment, and then, do the SOAP notes and finally discharge. But then we have actors who started coming into our practicals. It was really interesting because it actually made it, for me, I feel like it made it less scary because it just ended up being like, oh, this is a person. Like, of course I can talk to a person. Of course I can figure out what their occupational profile is, or, just look at them that way instead of looking at it like a case on a piece of paper. But anyways, very intense and very scary for the past 2 weeks, but we're all good, so.
It really helps you to work on your therapeutic use of self as well. And as a student, sometimes we get into that mindset of, we're not ready. And then we're put into these situations and you just start performing and you realize, you know what, we are ready and we have learned a lot. So it's very reassuring of the process.
Yes.
I think we all walked out of the room like, oh wow, I just did a 50-minute eval, and I've never done that before, so that was pretty amazing to just have the confidence in ourselves to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, if you had any other things that were similar, like within your coursework that was like preparing you, not like outside of reading and talking about it and discussing, but did you have any like actual work or pseudo work like this throughout?
Bits and parts.
Yeah.
So we had, during our first trimester actually, we had an assignment where we went to a skilled nursing facility and we had assigned clients within the facility and we had to do a whole occupational profile on this person. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm ready to talk to a real person and ask them all the things that they want to do, need to do, wish to do, and then you do it and then you realize, wow, this is trimester 4 and we're doing this section again. So we've done a lot of the individual sections, but we haven't put it all together. So to be able to put the whole thing together with a nice little bow at the end and get a good grade, it really is satisfying.
Well, and also I feel like you have a professor or maybe a couple of professors that are watching you throughout this whole thing too. So you're also having that added stressor of like, okay, I have to do it right for the client, but then also
That's exactly the feeling.
Exactly.
And it's scary because you know that they're sitting there with the pen and they're watching your safety and therapeutic use of self and how you're interacting with the client and making sure that, therapy is like actually skilled. So it was scary for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I would have freaked out if I was a student. I probably wouldn't have handled that very well.
Yeah, but as Bianca said, it was very reassuring just to know that we have the skills, we can do this, and it's kind of nice to even have that practice from eval to discharge before fieldwork too, so that now when we actually have our own caseload of clients, it's like, okay, we've done this in a controlled environment, we can do this in the real world too, so that's really nice.
I think that's really cool. And I think it's really unique and really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of like reflecting as I'm speaking right now, but I can see it having so much benefit because you're basically like going through what it is that you're going to be expected to do in fieldwork. Mm-hmm. Like, and I like how you said, like, in a controlled setting, it's familiar, like you know the environment that you're in, and then all of a sudden you can take all that skill, all those skills that you've learned in the class, you've learned during that experience. That is really, really cool. Like, I'm kind of jealous, but I'm also like,
it's terrifying.
I'm so glad I didn't have to do it.
Okay.
So, I want to know, what would you guys say that has been the hardest thing about your schooling so far?
I think the hardest thing about the schooling so far has been transitioning to student life. And not only student life, but full-time student life. And not only a regular graduate program, but this is a advanced doctorate level accelerated program. So transitioning to that when I had weekends free, and now it's
what does that mean?
I know, right? What does that mean? And then not on top of that, having my family and friends and the time that was spent for them, now having that time decreased, it's been a learning curve to trying to figure out what is that balance now.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I know it's going to be a lifelong thing where I'm going to have to always figure out what the balance is, but it's been particularly hard as a student.
Yeah, especially when they're like, all right, everyone, make sure you're reading. It's 5 chapters for this class, 2 chapters for that class, and then you add it up and you're like, okay, wait, so I have 8 chapters due tomorrow on top of a paper. How am I gonna even sleep, or like even sometimes like work out, shower, cook, eat, like
your own occupation.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you like I was like eating with books in front of me, and I'm a really slow reader, so that was the hardest part for me, especially when we were taking like 22 credits and had trimester 2 we had like group projects
that was
like
a tough one.
every single week due, so it's like on top of it now you have to work with other people that have different schedules or that are commuting like an hour or 2 to school, and so that was really difficult for me.
And as they were both saying, in agreement, it's really difficult to balance your life because you're transitioning into this whole other experience, and it's very specific, and not a lot of people understand what it takes to be in these types of programs. And everyone in their own respective profession, it's specific. But this one was very different because I feel like as much as we were learning about other people and how we can help them in their lives, I feel like it was a struggle to be like, okay, well, I'm learning all these things, but I can't even practice it myself because I don't have time, because I need to write a million papers, or I have to sit down during class. And even when you stand up, it's not the same. And then we learn, the context of your environment changes this. And then we're sitting in class and we're trying to sit on a yoga ball and do stretches on like the back wall or something. But that was really hard. And then having to tell like friends and family, like, I can't hang out. I can't make it to your birthday party. I can't go to your engagement party or your baby's baby shower. So that was tough, but it's over now, so.
Well, you say it's over, but it definitely is kind of a lifelong thing that you have to deal with. And it's funny because this has definitely come up in a lot of the interviews so far. And I myself, I am not perfect at this work-life balance thing at all. And if you would have talked to me like a month ago, I would have been pulling my hair out and stressed beyond belief. And now I'm like trying to take care of myself a little bit better. And so I'm doing okay. But we all kind of ebb and flow throughout being a student and then going into your practitioner role. And so it's definitely something that's going to kind of keep popping back into your brain of like the importance of taking care of yourself and taking care of yourself so you can take care of others type of thing.
Yes.
But yeah, it's like, I swear, I have the hardest time with it as well.
Yeah.
And like managing the caseload and documentation and evaluations and this and that. And I got some work to do.
I think that's what we're most nervous for, just getting a full caseload and then being like, wait, documentation takes me a really long time. How am I going to do this for every client I see just today? Like, there's not going to be enough time to do anything else. So
I feel like when you start school, it's a good taste of like shifting your life around, and then all of a sudden you're thrown into fieldwork and you have other responsibilities of what you're doing, and you're going to shift there, and then all of a sudden you're going to be out working and it's going to change again. And so all of this is like a learning process and like growing and building and kind of adding on to everything that you've learned so far.
Definitely. It's also been a lesson in just being flexible, like what you said. Learning how, okay, now we have this, and this. How do I make myself flexible enough to allow that in my schedule and to also be able to do those things, or be flexible enough to be okay with not doing those things that I really wanted to do. Like being okay with not going to the baby shower because this is a priority, or saying, you know what? It is a priority to go hang out with my family and go to this baby shower, and the rest of the work, it's going to get done. So it's all about stress management and staying flexible within the process.
Yes. Yeah, it's like we all have the same amount of time. It's just what you choose to do with that time and what you choose to value and focus on and what you can put on the back burner.
Yeah.
But it's finding that just right challenge that of saying, this is good, this is where I need to be able to function and get what I need to get done, but then also be able to do the things that add value to my life outside of school. So
I feel like everybody does that in a different way, so it's really interesting to see how Celia does it versus how Kat does it versus how I do it, because we all do it differently, but somehow we figured out what are those important things and we're going to make time for them.
And I think that is a really kind of astute point that you just said, and I'm kind of reflecting as you guys as practitioners, because your clients are all going to be dealing with things slightly different. And so being able to identify it with your peers, with your colleagues and your classmates, and then being able to kind of apply that generally to your patients and your clients. And so I know I asked you what the hardest part was, but what was the most exciting part that you went through in school?
I really think it was our class that made the big difference. We all just really got along from the start. Even other cohorts are, how did you guys get so close? Like, how did you guys bond over, things? And we all just really clicked so well. So we each had each other's back. We had support. Like, if I finish this assignment, I'll edit yours, or I'll help you do this. So we were all just there for each other all the time.
That's awesome. That's cool. How many people are in your class?
27.
And that's a lot of people to
Yeah.
get to gel together.
Yeah, I agree with Celia. I think I was really surprised at how much I was getting along with everyone and how everyone seemed to be gelling so well with each other. It was strange, but like pleasantly surprising. And then like, even though everyone's so unique and different in their own ways, I feel like we all somehow complement each other, which was kind of weird too. Because outside of the program, I feel like, I don't know, maybe we wouldn't cross paths, I guess. You guys get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Is that weird? Okay.
No,
I was like, I don't know.
true.
I'm not sure. But yeah, it was just a lot of fun, and everyone's just so caring and like funny and smart. So it was just, that was the easiest part, just being with everybody. That was really easy.
As you were talking, a little like phrase quote kind of popped into my head, and it's individually unique, together complete. And it's like everybody is
That's
different.
so cute.
Right?
We're gonna text green right now.
Maybe that's the title of the episode.
Maybe.
But yeah, it's like everybody's coming from a different background, from different experiences, from different passions, different occupations, different things that make up their life and consist of their life. And all of a sudden you guys come together in this OT program and bring all of that, and that's so cool. And I think that's from a grander scope of the OT profession, that everybody's coming from slightly different experiences and different passions, and together that just adds to our profession.
I feel like I'm just gonna nerd out for a second, because yes, our cohort was very close, and it was surprising how close we actually got. And people are always skeptical when I say, oh yeah, we're really close. I'm like, well, really, how close are... No, we're really close.
Yeah.
But honestly, I feel like the amount that we learned and the professors that we have are just, it's out of this world. Having professors that are on OTAC leadership, who are holding association committee positions, who are doing research, who are so active and involved within our profession, we're inspired every single day. And just to have that, but then on top of that, their teaching style and how they're teaching us, I never thought I would learn this amount of stuff within 4 trimesters.
Exactly. And they present it so well that it's so, not that it's easy information, but it's really easy to understand it from them, and they all have all these different examples that they can bring to the table. Like, can you explain that a little bit more clearly? Oh, this is what I saw in the field, this is what happened, this is how it developed. So just their knowledge, and they all told us, if you want to go into academia, make sure you practice first, because you're going to have little experience, and you can't vouch for what you're saying if you haven't actually done it in the field. So they've all been a part of, like how Bianca was saying, a lot of associations, and it's really inspiring.
It's been fun just being a student.
I think
just sitting in that chair, right?
It has.
It's been really fun. It's been stressful and there's been tears, but it really has been one of the most rewarding experiences so far. And I think it wouldn't be so rewarding if it wasn't challenging.
Agreed.
And because it was challenging, I can say I've made it to the other side. Well, almost. And it's been pretty great.
And I, like you were saying, how like they continue to advocate for the profession at the state and national level and international. So a couple of our students are actually going to go internationally, Celia included. She's going to Spain with Liz and Lillian for 2B, right?
Yep.
And we even have another group who's going to Australia. There's 4 of them. So just a whole bunch of stuff going on.
I really like that you brought up the professors, and like, for me, as you were talking, like, I can feel the energy that you have, and I'm sure so much of that was passed on from your professors and the faculty. It's so refreshing to hear that, because you guys are passionate, you guys are ready to like get out there and change the world, and having somebody that is guiding you and educating you that is also passionate is so important to foster that and kind of continue that growth. I mean, I feel like most faculty are probably fine, but I feel like sometimes like the fieldwork educators, they're stressed out, they're burned out, and when you have a student that's like, I want to go do something, and then you have the educator that's like, I'm so tired, I can't even handle this, that can kind of lead to a little bit of tension. It can be difficult. And I hear stories that some people are like, I was really excited and now I'm like, maybe OT's not for me, just because they had a run-in with somebody that isn't as passionate. So it's really cool to hear that your school was like on it.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think that'll happen to any of us. We've all been through pretty hard fieldworks where it's like, oh, wait a second, that is an OT, but we were like, at least from my experience and from hearing other classmates' experience, like, here's an article, like, presenting it in a really polite way, like, TheraBands aren't really used anymore for this, here's an article, just read as you want, or, like, really trying to change their mindset, because I feel like we're pretty big advocates for actually using therapeutic use of self with occupations, instead of, like, here's a TheraBand, here's the arm bike, because we saw that and we were like, what is this? And by the end of the week, I was like, can I run something? Can I run an intervention? Can I show you this article that I found? So I feel like our school has done a really good job just kind of preparing us that not everyone's going to be occupation-based, and how to make your path occupation-based and change your client's life like that.
Okay, I want to jump in a little bit more about this, because I think that's pretty cool that you just mentioned that. Did you, and I'll present this to the group, did you guys feel like, well, you had to identify, like, whoa, wait, hold on, like, this is not what they taught us in class, this is very different, like, this doesn't seem to be right anymore, right? People might have thought it was right in the past, but now you're like, there's other things. Do you feel like you were able to communicate that respectfully to your supervisor, to be like, hey, I'm going to challenge your beliefs here a little bit, and I want to try something a little differently? Can you kind of talk us through that that mindset that you had of going through identifying that there's kind of an issue and then how you presented it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for me, the first day I just kind of was in shock. It was just a 5-day fieldwork. And so I was just in shock the first day, and I was like, this is not what we learned. I wonder if she would let me do something and maybe it'll inspire her. Maybe she's burnt out. And so the next day I asked her if she wanted to eat lunch, and I just kind of talked to her, and she opened up to me and she was like, I'm really burnt out from this job. So then that was the perfect leeway of, okay, you know, why are you burnt out? What happened? Or what's your advice to me to help me not get burnt out when I get out in the field? And so I was just telling her about my professors and about my past experiences with OT, and I think that's where the trust went in. So on the third day, I just read an article saying, hey, just super casual, hey, I found this article actually about a better way to treat shoulder replacements. If you want to read it, go ahead. I didn't say, don't use the TheraBand, it's bad, it's not occupation-based. I presented just the positive of, this is kind of a fun little research article that came out, and I don't know, maybe you'll give it a try. And the next day she was like, do you want to run a session? I said, yeah. And I had all my books, so I did fall prevention with the client where we had her get on the ground, and she was like, this is so cool, can I make a copy? I'm like, please do. And so just little things like that, just building the relationship really helped.
Yeah. I mean, and there's this confidence that you have as you're sharing this story, and I feel like a lot of times with students that confidence can be not per se lacking, but like they kind of shove it aside because it's like, oh, I'm just a student, like, and they don't think that they have it. And I feel like that takes a lot of confidence to be like, hey, I want to do it my way. And who knows, your supervisor could have been working for years. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, like, you are teaching her new things, and that's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a really good experience.
Yeah.
Super cool.
I think that also comes down to our professors as well, because we've had leadership courses and intro to doctoral studies, so we've been taught how to not only be a leader within the profession, but also what comes with that, how to have effective communication, how to communicate with your CI so that it doesn't come across as we know everything because we were taught the latest information, but how do you do this in an effective way so it's beneficial to everybody and most importantly to the client?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like the main message of this whole thing is we've really been empowered to take ownership and go out and do what's right.
I just got the goosebumps. My cheek.
That was good. That was such a good story. I was like, yeah, selling that.
I know, right? Like, for you to even offer an article, that's exactly what we've been taught. Mm-hmm. And we feel empowered to be able to do that in an effective way.
Yeah, I just really like how you went about it and how you even said that you established that trust with her first instead of just stepping in there and be like, hi, you're not doing this right, la la la. Like, I think you handled that so well. So that was really good. I didn't hear that story before. That was good. That was
Thank you.
Well, and I think also just like taking action, because I think a lot of students would be placed in a similar situation and then just be like, ugh, this is so frustrating, I can't believe it's going this way, but whatever, I'm only going to be there for a week and then I'm gone, and like just kind of like leave it. Yeah. But you took the initiative and you took action to say, hey, I have something to add here, and regardless of how little or big it actually was, like, you went and just did it. Yeah. And I'm sure that therapist has probably continued to use the fall prevention and continue to reflect on that article, maybe even provided it to other students, other clinicians. And so that's like, yeah, I'm like, that is awesome. I think so. Yeah, oh, definitely. And I like that this kind of came up because I'm sure that there are other students that are going through something that is similar right now, or will at some point, where they're going to be on a fieldwork and be like, what do I do? So do you guys have any like advice for somebody that might be in a situation where it's not occupation based, or where it's something that it is not in line with what you're taught in school, but it's your supervisor or it's another clinician, how you might bridge that gap of like, hey, I can help, but I don't want to step on toes?
I feel like we've been taught a lot of doing it how Celia suggested, by offering the articles or kind of building relationships first. But then we've also been taught kind of feel out your situation, because what could be the best solution is just by practice what you preach. So others may learn through how you practice.
Oh, yes. Yes,
So-
that was something they would say often.
And they say that a lot. Be the change you want to see. If you are the change you want to see, it could inspire others who've been practicing for years and years, who may not know the latest techniques or styles, and that you may help them see this is an effective way, and maybe I am able to change.
Yeah. Like you're just modeling it for them. So then you're letting them see for themselves, like, okay, so this is another way to do it. And whether you take it up or not, just like how she's like, okay, like I'm going to go ahead and leave this article here. It's up to you if you want to. So it's not like you're really like imposing on them that like this is the only way to do it for your clients that you've been working with for 20 years. It's like this is just a suggestion. And just showing it with your own clients could be one way to do it, or building the trust and then maybe presenting them with some techniques and offering to have like that kind of information shared, I think is another way to do it as well.
Also, I think establishing communication with your CI the first day. We've learned in class, you say, what's your learning style? What's the best way for you to take my advice or ask questions? How would you like me to give you feedback, and vice versa? Just having that open communication can really help build a relationship, and any awkwardness or tension, it could just be solved through communication, because let's be real, we're all OTs. We all care for one another, and we all want the best for our clients, so we shouldn't really be butting heads. We should be trying to agree on what's best for the client.
I really like that you brought up the whole communication piece, because I think that is key, and not even just between student and supervisor or student and faculty professor, but clinician and client, or anything within kind of our realm. And I love that you also said from day one, don't wait until it gets hard and where you have to like approach a difficult situation. Talk about it when everybody's in a good mood, everybody's happy, and just be like, hey, I want to know how you operate. I'm going to tell you how I operate, so we can learn to communicate and get through this together. Because if you don't have good communication with your supervisor, it's not gonna go well. And you guys are gonna like completely, and I say you, not you three, but everybody, like you'll just butt heads with your supervisor, and they won't understand you, and they might think that you're not talking because you're not paying attention, you're not interested, but you're actually processing it. I love when my students are actually like, I take time to process things. So I might be really quiet as you're explaining something. I'm going to go home and think about it, and then I'm going to come back tomorrow and we'll talk about it. Whereas other people, they chime in with questions right away, and I'm like, oh, they're paying attention. But both of those students were paying attention, just they process it differently. And I think that communication piece is just so big. So that's, I mean, all of your advice, that was really, really good advice. So I want to jump to and hear if you guys have any fun stories to share about maybe something that you've done while you've been a student.
So I was on SOTA, which stands for Student Occupational Therapy Association, and I think almost all the schools, at least in the U.S., have these. It's a program that's made up of a board, so it's normally like 8 to 9 people who are the directors, and then they each have committees, which are normally made out of students in the OT program. So I was an ASD delegate, which stands for Assembly of Student Delegate. And so my main duty was communicating between the students and AOTA, which is the American Occupational Therapy Association. So it's kind of confusing to explain, but just basically anything that AOTA was doing, their student board, I would bring back to the students and say, hey, there's this conference going on, or this symposium, or you can get involved in AOTA this way and make changes. So a funny story is, it was I think our first or second trimester, and Bianca, we were in Big Bear, and Bianca's like, oh, did you apply? And I was like, no, I didn't. Like, I don't think I'd be good at it. And she's like, come on, apply. So we were waiting outside for breakfast, and I'm writing my little speech to turn in, and she read it really quick, and I ended up applying for the position and getting it. And now I'm actually applying to the AOTA student board to be on a higher up platform on the national level.
So you're glad that you got that little nudge from
Yes,
Bianca.
for sure. That was so helpful. And it's really changed my perspective of how involved AOTA and our students are.
And I think it's important to note that you have these opportunities as a student. Because I think a lot of times when you're a student, and I like totally throw myself into this ring, you're just kind of like, I'm a student, okay, I just have to do my schoolwork and that's about it. And then I become a practitioner and then I can join AOTA and go from there. But you can get involved earlier and you can get involved in lots of different things as a student. And it can actually be a very kind of cool thing to do as you're a student.
So what's really cool is we have assigned mentor-mentees, but they're students. So in the higher cohort, we have one student who's assigned as our mentor, and then as we progress through the program, we are assigned mentees in lower cohorts. And every single one of them has always asked me, should I apply? I don't know if I'm ready. Is this trimester going to be really hard? Am I going to have time to do it? And I always tell them, just anything that you're really passionate about or have a tiny passion for, try it, because you're going to find that you're capable of doing it. And a lot of times when your plate is really full, sometimes you just figure out how to make it all happen. Your plate will never be just a little bit, and you're gonna have all this free time. It's not gonna happen. So how do we deal with what we have on our plate, right? So
this goes back to what we were just talking
exactly
about.
You're gonna get it done. So why not join the student delegate or be the AOTA student delegate? Why not go and be the chair of the diversity committee? You're gonna be able to do it.
How did you guys initially hear about all of these opportunities? Is that something that the school would pass on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So at the beginning, when you come in for orientation, and it's your very first term in OT school, the whole SOTA board comes up, and then the members who are leaving, they kind of announce, hey, this is my position, this is what you have to do, I'm going to leave now, and then you go ahead and you apply for the position. And so everyone's informed, and every other term you're informed that like these positions are open. But I think like a huge part of being part of leadership is just making sure that you let the other students know that there are positions available and there are ways for you to become more involved, to either advocate for like your program, for your specific committee, or just the profession in general at like local, community, state, national, and international levels. So just making sure that like you're spreading that awareness and letting people know that this is what occupational therapy is. This is what we do for people of all ages across the lifespan, from all different walks of life, and just really just trying to make people like more aware.
Yes, that totally resonates with me, because I think we need to do a better job about promoting our profession and making people more aware, and students and practitioners and pre-OT students and high schoolers and middle, like wherever we can go with that, of really getting it out there as like we are a profession and we're a profession to be reckoned with. Like we have a lot to offer and we can do a lot.
Exactly. One of the things that I did, so I was an OTAC student delegate. So OTAC is Occupational Therapy Association of California. So for the state level, what I did was kept all of our students informed of different conferences, so like our annual conferences that we have, and then symposiums, and then continuing education courses that were still open to students. So there were a lot of really interesting ones that were available. Like they had a burn symposium, they had an OT and oncology symposium that I attended at City of Hope, and that one was very life-changing because there was a lot of different ways that I didn't really look at OT and oncology. And so after going to that, I learned a lot, and I was able to share that with our student body as well. And then there was even ones on like perinatal loss and just exploring all these different occupations that people are struggling with and how different OTs are addressing the needs of these people. So that was really interesting. And again, just advocating, educating, and just really making sure that people know that there are resources out there, especially if they're interested in pursuing a career that has something to do with oncology or has to do with burns or perinatal loss.
it's just kind of planting the seed and then potentially utilizing that later on. Like even if it just, you kind of mention it of like, this is what we do, and then a year later or whatever, somebody's going to say, oh yeah, that had something to do with OT. Okay, hold on, I'm going to look into this. And I feel like even like right now, right this moment, there's so many new things happening, and within the span of the next decade or 20 years, OT is just going to continue to grow and expand, and there's going to be so many different practice areas of like what we can contribute to and what we add value to the profession. So yeah, that's cool. I like that. Anything else?
I just wanted to say, going along with the California conference, so not only did Kat tell us about the conferences and the symposiums, but she also really informed us on local things that were happening within our state, the Tea with a Scholar, and different networking opportunities. I always encourage students to be involved, because why not? Just, you don't even have to speak. I've been you just go and you show up. I went to one about mental health, and it was just a really great networking opportunity. Got to meet some really great professionals, and I was not the only student there.
Well, and I should point out, going to conferences and going to things as a student, that is actually how we have this episode happening right now. Because Bianca and I had met at the OTAC conference. And so, yeah, like, you never quite know what's going to happen, but just by going and putting yourself out there and just being there and being present, something really cool can happen out of it.
Another thing I recommend students doing is volunteering at a conference, because I've done that the last 2 times and it's been great. I would just park myself in the little registration table, and then as people are coming, you give them their registration packets and you look at the map and you tell them where they're going. So it's kind of a way to be involved but not have to know everything. So, and you're just meeting so many people as they come in. You're kind of the first face they see. So to be that first face as a student, it's kind of a cool opportunity.
She met Lily Lorenz.
I did.
She met Lily Lorenz. Her first OTAC conference in Sacramento. And then I remember, I just left. I was like, no.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, you never know who's going to be at conference.
That was super cool because we had just learned about it, like, in our foundation course. And then all of a sudden, she sends a picture to our group chat, like, look who I met. And we're all just geeking out, like, oh my gosh, no way. That's what she looks like now. How is she? Is she nice? Like, it was so cool. I was so happy for you. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So happy and so jealous at the same time.
I was really happy though, because like I feel like you really appreciate stuff like that. So I was like, yes, Bianca.
Yes. Like meeting
so
OT
cute.
greats. I just feel like conference in general, if you are feeling any type of way of your path in OT, go to conference and you are going to be inspired.
Yes.
100 times over.
The research that they're doing, they have workshops, like continuing education, again, like they had one on like, I forgot what it was called, but it was some special one for splinting, and I was like, oh my gosh, can I go to this? And I'm like trying to peek in and see what they're doing, and they were on break, so all their little splinting materials like on the tables. I was like, oh, okay, I'll do that later on. Maybe. I'm not going into hands. But just, there's so many resources there for you, so many opportunities to network, to share ideas, and to like learn new information that you didn't think about before, or like spark new interest that you're like, wow, I didn't know I was interested in something like that. Or if you're volunteering and you're just like checking people in, maybe you'll see their name next to a really awesome lecture and you'll get like the chance to talk to them without everyone else being around, maybe. Something like that.
Go stalk them in the hallway and be like, hold on, I have a question. About that.
Just being really proactive about shaping your professional career, but also just enjoying it, because there's so much that you can learn, and it's honestly amazing. It's amazing to be involved and to know that you feel really empowered. Like, I can do all these things. Like, of course I can. Why wouldn't I be able to do these things?
And it's so refreshing to just have and be around other people that want this field to grow just as much as you do, because then you're like, okay, this is doable. I'm not by myself. It's not just me and my class that are like, go OT. It's this, these other people, like different races, different age, different genders, all trying to do the same goal.
Yeah. And you're going to meet people across the lifespan too. So yes, there's going to be a ton of students, but then you're going to get new practitioners, you're going to get people that are in the middle of their career, people at the end of their career, people that have retired that they're just coming back because they still love OT. And I love going to conferences, and I'm like always just such a big promoter of like, go. It's so overwhelming, and by the end I need like weeks of like just to debrief and like debrief, think, reflect, like process what happened, because it's like go. There's so many people, you can't meet everybody, but yeah, it's like getting together with like-minded individuals. And it's like, I feel like we can all geek out about OT, and then all of a sudden you bring thousands of OTs and OT students together, and it's just like, oh my goodness.
Exactly.
It's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. I think, oh man, I forgot who I was talking to, but she was describing going to OTAC conferences as like going to a big wedding every year, but all of like your best professional friends are there, and some of your regular best friends are there, and you just get to have a good old time, share ideas, and then they have like the opening ceremony night, which is just like a reception or something. But the way she was describing it was really awesome. And the way that she was saying it too, it just shows that even though she's been practicing for however many years, that she still gets so excited to go to conference and see all of her great friends and share ideas. So yeah, that was really nice.
It's almost like a big reunion.
Yeah.
And there are people that I pretty much only see at conference, because we live and work in different cities, different states, and every year it's like, you're going to be there? Yeah, all right, me too. And we always make it a point to like hang out and get together, and yeah, it's awesome to have that kind of meeting point. And then of course, like, you get to explore a new city, or maybe go back to your hometown if it happens to be in a place that you have lived or something like that. And I love conference. I can't say enough about all of the conferences.
They're good. They're a lot of fun.
And I feel like as a new student, it's so intimidating, because you hear how much other people love them, and you're like, kind of nervous. It sounds like a huge place. There's going to be so much going on. How do I navigate? So just grabbing a buddy, like, hey, want to just go together? That's what we did. I think there's like 4 or 5 of us for our first conference, and we just picked some classes together that we had the same interest, and it made it so much less scary and intimidating. So just go with the person, just know that they'll be by your side, and there's so many other people that want to help you. So don't let the fear of what you think is going to happen not let you go.
Yes.
And even if you can't find a buddy, like, just go.
Ask questions.
Yes.
People are so willing to help. And yeah.
I went, the first year that I went by myself. I didn't go with anybody. I like knew a handful of people that were going to be there, but it wasn't like we were going together, and I showed up and I was like, I don't even know where to go. But again, you're there and you're present, and you just make the most of it. And
Agreed.
You'll meet people. And I remember like one time I was sitting and I was actually like catching up on an email, and somebody just sat down next to me and just started talking. And then like we became friends, and it's like, all right, like I wasn't even like trying to engage with you, and they were like, yeah, let's chat.
So I actually went to the OT and Oncology conference by myself, because people wanted to go for my class, but they weren't able to make it. And it was a full commitment. It was the whole day lecturing, maybe like 8 hours, something crazy. You get a certificate at the end. That was nice. But it was just a huge commitment to be there. And a lot of these people, like, there weren't that many students. A lot of them just wanted to know more about it, and they were already professionals. So I was kind of intimidated to go, but it was great. It was a great experience, and people were very nice. And then they gave you opportunities where, like, during the lunch break, they split up like all the guest speakers, so then whatever topic they were talking about, you could go walk up to them and ask more information. So, you just have to be a little bit more proactive, but, stepping out of your comfort zone is good too, because then you learn a little bit more about yourself, and you just get to learn more about other people and how you interact with them. And I took really great notes that day, because, maybe if I was sitting next to my friend, we might have been like talking about something else maybe. But yeah, it's good. You can go by yourself. It's totally fine.
So I want to ask you guys, and I feel like we've touched a lot on it, but I want to ask the question because it might kind of spark something else. But what is one thing about occupational therapy that excites you most about our profession?
I think that what excites me the most is that it's like what's meaningful to you is different from what's meaningful to someone else. So I like that it's very specific to the person and their lived experiences, and that you get to be part of a profession that it's your job to honor that. It's your job to make sure that like this person gets to go back to doing all the things that they love or they have to do or they're obligated to do, but mostly, you know, things that are meaningful to them. So just that it's so different for everybody, and that you get to be a part of that and helping them feel like themselves again.
Well said. I have to agree with that for sure. And the fact that they're so vulnerable and you're the one that's there and you're the one that's showing care and not just rushed, you know, it's like really deep, like what do you want to do? And they probably don't get asked that. It's more like, okay, are you safe? Are your vitals good? Like medication, like, and those are all great things to care about. But for me, it's just getting to know the person at a deep, deep level so fast.
It's definitely like one of the things that I hear about the profession is that it's really intimate because you are getting to like the core of what that person wants to do. And whereas other medical professionals, they kind of dance around the subject, like we jump in and get them back to doing what they want to be doing. And it's really empowering, but it's also like, I mean, for some people you have to break down those walls of like, well, what do you want to do? Why can't you be doing it? And what does that actually mean to you? What is that purpose? What is that role in your life?
I think for me, the most exciting part about OT is the endless possibilities of where OT can be. I feel like it's kind of almost like a game, like, okay, where else could OT be beneficial? I'm doing one of my fieldwork placements at a community-based setting, and it's working with women who've been human trafficked. And if you had told me 2 years ago that I was going to be doing OT with that population, I would say OT doesn't work with that population. And so it's really interesting to see there are so many different avenues of where OT can be, and where else do we need to search to put OT in there?
I want to hear.
Yeah.
Well, now I want to know where you're going to be. You're going to be in Spain. You're going there. Oh my gosh! Like we're going to have to get back together and hear about
that
this.
Would be so cool.
Aww.
Yeah, in like 6 months, get back together and be like, this is what happened.
This is what happened.
Yeah.
I'm all messed up. No, I'm just kidding.
We're gonna be seeing like traditional locations, but also completely untraditional.
Yes.
And so to see the spectrum,
Oh man,
it's so
gonna be
cool.
crazy. Ugh.
It's
I know we'll all be like, you know, our little Lifeline group chat,
Yeah.
like just vaguely share some information there.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to hear like what it's like
Yeah,
afterwards. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. I'm like jealous of you guys. I want to be a student.
Come back.
Yeah, right.
It'll be fun.
I want to just go be a fly on the wall, all these different places. I love it. I'm just like, wow, I'm so inspired about all of this. This is just what happens to me. Okay. I got a couple more questions. This is going to be a fun one. I thought of this one and I was like, oh, this is perfect. So I've been practicing for about 10 years. And what I want to know from you guys is, where do you guys see yourselves in 10 years?
Oh, I don't know. What's going on right now?
Yeah.
Let's see.
What do you think? Where do you think right at this moment? And you're free to change it. You're not stuck to it. Where do you think you'll be?
Honestly, for me, going back on to trying to figure out where OT can be, I really want to find out how can I make OT work within an aquatic setting. And so that's my passion project right now, and I know that in 10 years from now, I'm going to figure something out. Okay. So I don't know if it's going to be within an established setting or if it will be my own business or what, but I really want to see where that will go.
Adults? Children? All of the above?
I think all the above. I'm not sure. I don't want to put myself in a box. But then I also want to do leadership positions. So I really want to be involved with the state association, possibly national.
Okay, well, so I came into OT school like wanting to do peds in a school-based setting. And I've been trying to keep my mind open and like just open other things because I don't want to just be too focused, but it keeps drawing me back. And one of my huge passion projects that I hope I'll be able to somehow like manifest someday. Basically, LAUSD right now has reported over 17,000 students who are homeless. And that's just the students who have been reported. So that doesn't mean that they're just in high school. They could be in elementary school. And so some of the criteria for that was, you know, like, do you have running water? Where are you sleeping at night? Are you sleeping in an abandoned building? And so what I wanted to do for my original capstone project was, they have transitional schools, part of LAUSD, but right now there's a lot of challenges going on in that school district with all of the strikes and the protests and things like that. So I don't know how realistic that would be. And it's just a lot of red tape in general. But basically, I wanted to be part of their transitional schooling. That's the schools that are specific for homeless youth in LAUSD, and give them transitional living skills classes. Because if they don't have the actual home to practice money management, food management, or just skills that they'll be able to take over, it's like this whole thing. I'm so sorry. I don't have like a speech for it.
Do it.
But basically, my whole thing, that the way I look at it is that, you know, if they don't learn these skills, are they going to end up still living in homelessness when they're older? And then it's contributing to this population of homelessness in Los Angeles. And it's just very sad because these are kids and they didn't ask to be in this situation. So I want to be part of, like, hopefully being part of like that change, that preventative change. But it's just, I'll have to work on it a lot. So hopefully in the next 10 years, I'll come up with something that works, whether it's specifically that or something along the lines of that. But that's my passion project. And I still want to be involved with OTAC. I don't know exactly what specifically, but maybe I'll be involved with more political things that will change the outcome for this population that I want to work with.
Very cool.
Yeah, I could definitely see you both doing that in 10 years for sure. Like, you're like speaking, I'm like, yes, you're gonna do aquatic, like, yes, you're gonna change policies, like, it's so fitting to their personalities, so I can really see it happening. For me, it's so confusing because I came in, first I was like, I love peds, and then I was like, I love neuro, I love adult, I love older adults, so for me it's just there's so many options that I can't really figure out, like, where I'll be or what my next step is, but I've really been thinking about doing transitional living for homeless individuals. So the program I'm going to in Spain is basically like scooping people up from the streets, putting them in a setting, a controlled setting where they focus on their mental health, their hygiene, just basic ADLs, IADLs, and then little by little they transition. And there's this little town and it has like a makeshift bank and a grocery store, so it's like a safe community surrounded by healthcare professionals. So for one of my capstone ideas, which got denied, which is okay for safety reasons, but I was like, how cool would it be to stay in Spain and learn how they did this and how they established it, how the laws and how the budget and everything works, and then bring it back here, especially like I'm from Chicago, so there's a lot of homeless people there, and in LA too, so just kind of getting our mental health population addressed more, like people instead more of like a judgment or less of a judgment. So that's kind of where I see myself. But I also love neuro and love peds, so I've also been thinking about being a OT in that department, and for sure being involved in AOTA. Not sure exactly what, or international level would be cool. So I'm kind of just all over the place, scattered.
I knew asking that question that it would be hard, because I think it's so easy to get kind of in the weeds of where you are right now, like student, schoolwork, practicals, like field work, and to then like remove yourself from that and like picture where you're going to be in 10 years is kind of a crazy question. And honestly, like I'm kind of smiling like as you guys were answering, because if you would have asked me 10 years ago, the only thing that I probably would have said then that would hold true today is that I wanted to do peds. But like everything else, like early intervention, I probably would have said school or clinic based at that point. Like wouldn't be doing early intervention. Like, no, if you would have said I was going to have my own private practice, like, not, like, that would have been totally off the radar. Like, having a podcast, yeah. Like, all of this, like, nope, that wouldn't have even, like, been a, like, figment of my imagination. Like, all I would have known is pediatrics. So, it's cool just to kind of hear where you think you'll be, and then to actually see where you go from there. That'll be very interesting.
And I think we'll know more after this, like, 6-month, 3-month rotation, more of our interests and our strengths and where we thrive. So
I agree.
It'll be interesting to see now compared to 6 months from now.
Let's ask each other the same question after Fieldwork 2B.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's hard to tell right now because even though we had 3 Fieldwork 1s or level 1s, it's very different from what we're expected, how we're expected to perform as a level 2 student. So maybe our 10-year plan will change.
Well, and it's also very, like, kind of isolated because you go, like, you could be at a, like, pediatric clinic, but you're at 1. And you could go back to another one for a level 2, and it's different therapists, it's a different environment, it's different rules, it's different goals.
Yes.
Like, it could be the exact same setting, but 2 different locations, and it's completely different. Or hospitals, or anything. So, yeah, it's interesting, and it's not something you really can know for certain, but just kind of interesting to kind of reflect forward, I guess. So, I want to know, what is the best piece of advice that somebody has given you?
Mine would be to trust yourself, because how we were talking about earlier, like in practicals, you go in and you kind of are like, I'm blacked out, I don't know what happened, but your body and your mind just took over, and that's happened so many times for me, like in presentations, right now, for other practicals, even like going into field work, just kind of knowing that you have the ability to do this because you've gotten this far. So just having the strength to believe in yourself that you are capable of doing anything you put your mind to, as cheesy as that sounds.
It's not cheesy.
Perfect. Cheesy's good.
One of the best pieces of advice I got was right before I got into the program, I had a mentor who I volunteered with who was an OT, and she said, just enjoy the process, and any opportunity that comes up, really try to take advantage of it and take advantage of the setting you're in, because you're only going to be a student once. So if you get an opportunity to be a part of SOTA, try to do that. If you have an opportunity to go to conference, go to conference. If you get those opportunities, take them.
That is good advice. I think the best advice that I've gotten, it was when we first started OT school, and it was from one of the older cohorts, and they just said, remember to make time to have fun and to take care of yourself. And I was like, okay, I can do that. I do that all the time, no problem. And then, you get sucked into the whole school life, you get all stressed out. And then somewhere along the way, I remembered what they told me. And I was like, okay, you're right. I'm getting way too consumed by this. I need to balance my life a little bit better. I need to make time for my own occupations, whether that's just something so simple, like if I want to do my laundry in peace and quiet house, I'm going to do my laundry in peace and quiet house, or go out to happy hour with my friends or something. So, but just making time for yourself and having fun. I think that's really important. It's important to laugh and have fun.
There were a couple other OTs on social media today, and that was the big thing that they were promoting, the importance of laughing and not taking yourself too seriously and having fun and just kind of enjoying the process.
Enjoy the process.
Just enjoying everything. And I think that's something that's so important. Do your job and do a good job, but enjoy it and have fun as well.
Yeah, and you don't have to be a 4.0 student, and nobody asks you your GPA after you graduate. You just want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because if you're stressing about, I got a B plus, how am I going to do this? That's not going to be fun, and it's going to take away from your learning. One of our professors says, I wish I didn't have grades, because you guys stress out about getting those perfect grades, and it's just not realistic, especially when you're taking 22 units, you're trying to be involved, you're trying to have your own life and trying to keep up with school. It's just not worth your mental health to have a 4.0 try your best, do your best, know that you gave the best that you could, and just trust yourself that this is good enough. And I put my hard work in this and have peace with it.
So I just asked you what the best piece of advice that you were given, but if you were the one actually giving advice, what would you say to current students right now or potential future students?
So I think something that's really important is find your passion, and whatever that thing is that you see a need for out there, if there isn't that thing, go and create it. Don't wait until somebody else creates it. You can be the one, even as a student, you can go and do it. So I have a lot of passion projects, but one of the things that I have been working on is trying to get the local middle school onto our campus and really teach them about what is OT. And I feel like the community around us, but also nationally, internationally, there's such a lack of knowledge of what OT is, and it just starts in your backyard. Start there, start with the young ones, and teach them what OT is. So that's what we're working on right now. Another thing, at conference, actually, I was talking to our regional director, and I was like, I'm really passionate about teaching what OT is, and how do we get the message out? She's like, you would be great on the membership committee. So I didn't know students could be on membership committees, and so I joined, and now I'm on the membership committee trying to increase awareness of why it's important to be a part of our state association. And then the last thing is, on SOTA, I also started a position, the alumni liaison position, because I felt like there was a little bit of a disconnect between being a student, but then once you become an alumni, there's this big disconnect. So how do we merge that? How do we make it so there's really good communication and networking opportunities between the student and alumni? So I felt like this position was important. And we're excited where it'll go.
I think that something that's really important is to make sure that you find a mentor, whether you are still a student and you're doing fieldwork level 1, or you're a student who just is entering level 2, or you just graduated, or even if you've already been in the field for many years. I think it's really important to have a mentor to just exchange ideas and just to maybe hear something from a different perspective, and so that they can give you feedback so you can become better and improve on your skills and hopefully gain some new skills along the way. I think it's also important for you to keep track of everything that you've been doing on your CV or your resume. So all of the dates, how many hours you were there, the contact information, specifically, also what your roles were while you were there. And it's just going to make things easier for you when you have to apply for a new job, or if you want to apply for a special position of some kind. I think that would be really great. Those are my main ideas.
Those are awesome ideas. I would also encourage students to get involved as much as possible. So just start off with either your SOTA at your school, apply for an AOTA position, OTAC position. They seem really intimidating at first, but people are so willing to help you, answer any questions. So don't let the fear of the unknown kind of stop you. So I'm currently actually applying for an AOTA position, which is called Volunteer Leadership Development Committee. And it's about increasing the numbers of OT students who volunteer and where the volunteer happens. So like going out in different types of communities, different kinds of setting, and spreading the OT word, especially to those students who aren't AOTA members. So that's what I'm doing. And also just taking opportunities that your school offers. So for fieldwork, I'm going to Spain. And that's really scary because I'll have to be doing it all in Spanish, documentation, but just that fear can't be the thing that's stopping me, because it's going to be such a great experience. And this whole process is scary. If you are applying to grad school out of state, you have to move away from your family, away from your support system, but just know that you're able to do it because you have the passion for OT.
Yeah, you guys are wise beyond your years, and I love what you guys have been saying, and the stories that you've been sharing, and the advice that you were given, but also giving advice for current students, future students. Yeah, so if anybody does want to reach out to you guys, or have questions about anything that we've talked about today, I'll have a link to your emails in the show notes so people can reach out to you if they so wish. And it's down to the last question. How would you describe occupational therapy in one word?
We did this exercise one time in class, though.
What? Somebody took my, just kidding.
We did. We remember we all sat in that circle, and then everyone was, we literally all said different words.
You're right.
But I don't know what word I want to choose today.
I feel like it changes every day.
Yeah,
I know.
it changes.
It's okay. What's your one word today?
Compassionate.
Meaningful.
Advocacy.
Awesome. Well, guys, this has been amazing. I've loved having you guys join me today, and we are actually doing this interview live, so we're all in the same room, which is actually really fun to do. And I've learned a lot about your stories and your journeys and about different things that you can get involved in as a student. And I wish you guys the best of luck with your upcoming Fieldworks and your capstone projects and basically the rest of your OT journeys. And so thank you so much for being here and just taking the time to sit down and chat with me today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, before you go, I just wanted to say thanks for listening to today's episode. If you want to further the discussion, go to our website, otforlife.com, and join our Facebook group. If you like us, here are 3 easy ways to let us know. 1. Share our podcast with a friend, colleague, or anyone interested in occupational therapy. 2. Leave us a review on iTunes or anywhere this podcast is found. 3. Subscribe to us so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. Thanks again. We'll catch you next time, OT for Lifers.
We have 2 additional weeks of...
Oh, yeah. That was tough.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
It was tough.
It's pretty
tough.
Yeah. So I don't feel like you have to explain everything.
Okay.
She's like, that's a lot. I know, right? I'm going to put all the pressure on you.
You got it, Celia.
Oh, wait, no. The first week was adults. Sorry.
It's okay. I was saying the same thing.
Should I start over?
Don't they call them like, what's it called? Like a universal patient? No? Am I making
Oh,
that?
standardized
Thank you.
patient?
Standardized.
Yes, it is.
That's the same
Yeah.
thing?
Standardized.
Okay,
So,
universal. I've been out of academia for a while, okay?
No, it's okay. That was like really new to us, but it was...
Sorry. Did you have something?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh my gosh, what's it called? Not the happy medium, the just right challenge. There we go. Like, where's the OT word there?
challenge.
I'm trying to think. Well, because... I mean...
Well, I was going to say... Oh, I know what I was going to say.
Practicing what you... Or how does the saying go?
Practice what you preach. Did I explain any of that?
Association student delegate.
There we go.
We could do it.
Okay,
Yeah, start over.
Wait, maybe be you sort of. Or somebody else start.
You...
I remember the first day when we were during orientation and the president at the time was like talking about soda, if you want to join soda. I was like, what is soda?
Yeah.
Why is nobody explaining what
thirsty?
soda
Like, do they?
means?
I thought it was like a fundraiser to like sell to make money. Like I literally thought it was like a little vending.
Yeah.
You know.
I didn't know
soda and
how
chips.
involved soda actually was, and I didn't know it was a student council.
Yes.
I'm sorry, start that over. I won't bring
Think
the
about it. I'm
faculty.
just going to
I'll
turn the
just
light
do
on.
the-
Otherwise, we're going to be sitting in the dark.
Just do it.
Oh, you could go next. I'm still thinking.
Go to the symposium. Go to all those things that are local.
You know, I love the symposium.
You'd love them.
I love them. They're so good.
They're so good.
You learn such good stuff.
We're all people person. Like people. People.
Yeah.
Persons.
People.
People.
What is that thing?
We're all people.
People?
I'm a people person.
People person.
Like, how
But
do you...
then, how do you do that plural?
People. We're all people persons.
Yes, people persons. I think that's good. Yep, that's what it is. People persons.
Or people.
Really?
We're all
people.
I'm a people person? Yeah, we're all people persons.
That sounds so weird.
That does sound weird.
Okay.
Maybe you could just say like we're all compassionate. And we're all
We all love
here.
working with people.
Yes, there you go.
We all work with people to some extent.
This
Yes.
is totally a blooper box. This is totally going in at the end.
People persons. People.
Okay, hold on a second.